you looking to learn how to make a needle felted mermaid? If so, then you're on the right video, because today I'm going to teach you everything you need to know and more. Aloha everyone, and welcome to today's video, how to needle felt a mermaid. My name is Iceland, and on this channel, Snowflake Forest Felting, I share needle felting videos, have needle felting tutorials like this one, and share product reviews from time to time. So if you're new and this interests you, please consider subscribing. And if you want to know more about anything you see here on this channel, be sure and check the links in the description below this video or leave a comment. I'd love to connect with you there. To start, I'm going to show you everything you're going to need to make your mermaid. The first thing that you're going to need is your foam pad to protect your surface. Next, you're going to need your needle felting needles, a tape measure to know the size of your project, a pair of scissors to trim up your project, a needle and thread to sew the beads on, some fishing line if you plan to hang her somewhere like in a window or on a wall, and then the wool to create your mermaid. So you're going to have a bone color for the core part of her body, a peachy tone to cover for her skin, the colors you'll want her mermaid tail to be, a little shimmer if you're going to add some of that onto her tail, and then a color for her hair, and I have this special shimmer that I'm going to use. And keep in mind that wool roving over wool batting is going to be much better to create a hair look with, because in wool batting the fibers are going all different directions, whereas roving it's all going in the same direction. And again, you guys, remember, I'm going to have all this stuff linked down in the description below this video. You can learn more there. Now let's get to felting. To begin, take out your felting needle, grab a little bit of your bone colored wool that you're going to use to make her head, and then you're going to want to felt this into a really nice round perfect ball, and hold on to just a pinch of the wool. That's going to be where we attach her head to the body, and somewhat of the wool we'll use for her neck. So just keep piercing your wool like so, making it really nice and round. If you're making this newborn prop size, which is about 4 inches, you're not going to need a ton of wool. You're going to want the head in proportion to the body and the tail as well. So probably just under an inch, more like a ½ inch. If you have any spots that need a little more wool, you can see there that it's not completely smoothed out. Just add a touch more wool, wrap it around like so, and continue felting. Alright, now you're going to want to take some wool to create her body. I'm going to start by making the top of her, so like her shoulder area. And we're going to slim down towards her tummy and hips. And then you're going to want to take a little bit more wool and wrap that around from the back to the front to create the lower portion of her body and the start of her tail. And then we're not going to make her entire tail, we're just going to make the top half of it, where she is a little bit more solid. So then you can just felt all this down into kind of a point together. Put her head aside. And then continue to make her hourglass shaped. And just get her as felted firm as possible. Okay, you can see here that I'm starting to give her a little bit of a curve shape on the lower half. So after her bottom, her tail will come out and go off to the side. Here's a little closer view of what she's looking like. Now for the next step, you're going to want to attach her head. So that extra wool you were holding on to, go ahead and spread that out as much as possible Remove any excess, but not too much, because this is going to give her a secure hold onto the body. And then just start felting that right on top, like so. I can see I need to make her shoulders a little broader. So if you need to add some extra wool on, go ahead and do so, just like so. And then once you've gotten her head attached, it's time to start adding the peach color. So we're gonna go ahead and cover her face and her back and her tummy completely all the way down to where her tail will start. And then continue this until she is nice and covered and felted all smooth. Alright, now that you've got her all covered in the peach color, it's time to make her arms. You're gonna take a little bit of wool, roll it in your hands, and then take a tinier piece and make that a little flatter hand shape, and that's gonna go on to the end. And then start felting this. Since it's super tiny and delicate, it's gonna seem like a lot to get it felted, and just pushing the wool back and forth. So you want her hand to be pretty flat, and then her arm really round. So rolling it is going to help while you're felting it to keep her arm nice and round. And then again, flip back and forth for the hand. We're going to want to make 2 of these so they're matching. Do the same thing here. Roll the arm out again, and a little bit for the hand. The key here will be making these exactly the same size. So if you need to add a little bit of wool, go ahead and do so. And as you get them more felted, you'll be able to see where you need to add more wool, or if any, to make them match. And on the end where there's not the hand, where you're going to attach onto the shoulder, leave that loose, because we'll need that to make a firm attachment. So once you have her little hands made, go ahead and give them a trim up with your scissors before we attach them. You're going to want to take the end of each arm and spread the wool out. Remove any excess, but not too much. Do the same to the other one as well. Now you can see them. And we're going to just attach one to each side. And spread the wool around the shoulder area and start felting it in. Do the same to the other side. And then to help make these look solid and a part of her body, you're going to want to grab a little extra peachy wool and just wrap it over the shoulder and felt that on. Be sure to felt up underneath the armpit some and make that all nice and smooth. Do the same for the other side. I'm going to take a little bit of wool and attach that underneath the armpit on both sides. Alright, now it's time to start working on felting her tail. You're going to start with a little bit of each color you want the tail to be, if you're going to do a mesh multicolor type pattern. Then start pulling the fibers all apart and meshing them together like so. A little bit more wool. And then depending on how blended you want the color to be will just depend on how long you do this for. And now you're going to want to begin to felt her tail. You'll start by wrapping the bottom half of her completely and felting all of this on, and then you're going to want to save a little bit for the lower part of her tail. So you can make her tail shape however you would like it to be. I know everyone has a little preference on how they think fins should look. And then begin to felt this into one solid piece. So be sure when you're felting up around her hips to give it a bit of a V diagonal. Just kind of like that, you can see it comes to a V there. Alright, so her fins are starting to be felted. Since the fins are so delicate and thin, they're going to take you a while to felt. So just continue flipping your project back and forth until they're really solid in one firm piece. This is an area that'll take extra patience, along with maybe adding a little bit of wool in certain places and just getting the fins shaped really mermaid-like. You also want them similar in shape and size, almost as if they're marrying each other. Have your fins felted, it's time to take your scissors and start trimming up your project. Make everything look nice and smooth and rounded. Any extra fibers, just be sure and trim them off, and then continue this until you are completely done. Alright, once you are done trimming on your mermaid, it's time to add the top part of her fins. I'm going to do mine in a solid color to offset her tail. Felt it in all around the top of her waist, just like that. And I want this to stick out a little bit more than her tail does. So if you need to add more wool when you're doing this, go ahead and do so. There you can see a little better how I'm adding the color at the top. And then if you're going to add some shimmer to her tail, a little bit of that. You're going to want to twist it all together like so. And right at the base where her fin starts, go ahead and felt that shimmer. Curve it along the fin down to the tip. Repeat the same thing for the other side. Twist it again and add it at the base. Wrap it along the top of the tail, down to the bottom of the fin. If you have extra, you can just wrap it back up into itself and felt it down in. And then continue to felt this until it is completely solid with the tail. Then on the back, any that have pierced through, just kind of twist them around your needle very gently. You don't want to break your needle tip off, and felt them down and back into the tail. Trim any extra. Now in the next step, you're going to want to add some hair. You're going to want to do this in a couple pieces, and this does not require a lot of felting. I like to twist it very gently, attach the piece to the back of her head, and then twist it down to the bottom, felt it up a little bit more around her head so it's nice and attached, down by her neck and into the front. If it's too long, don't be afraid to trim some off. I like to give the end a really good twist to finish it off, and then just pierce it along her body, like so. Take the next piece, do the opposite side. I'm going to give her part on the side of her head, felt it in again, Do the same thing on the side, twist it down, pierce it along her body some, trim the end so it's the same length of the other side, and twist the end. Do another piece along the side. Now that you've got her hair all done, it's time to make her crown and attach her belly button. So go ahead and grab the beads that you plan to use, the thread and needle. Cut a piece of thread. I want to put a pearl for her belly button, so I'm going to thread that through. Use the needle as well. Now you're going to want to sew that pearl on just at the top of her tail in the V that you created and at the base of her tummy. I'm going to tie it in several knots, trim the excess ends, and then tuck and felt those down inside. And then grab a little bit of the peach wool, twist it, and wrap it around the belly button and felt that to give the pearl a little extra security for attachment. Be careful when doing this not to break the tip of your needle. And if you use too much, be sure and smooth it out with a little bit more of the peach wool, and then you should have her pearl bead attached just like that. Now take the same thread and cut another piece, and then you're going to work on her crown. So put the beads in the order that you want them. Just thread them like that. And next you're going to want to tie it into a knot, but not completely tight. So there's a little bit of a loop that's about the size of her head. See that, just like so. Kind of nickel sized or dime sized. And then trim the extra thread, but not too close to the knot. And now it's time to attach her crown. Start by felting the ends of your thread down into her hair. Make sure that it's sitting center on her head, and get some more of the wool that you used for her hair, and then you're going to want to cover those loose threads with the wool and felt this down in. So this is going to help secure the beads and the crown into place evenly on her head. Alright, and then once you've got her crown on nice and secure, you are finished. Alright, and then one last thing. If you are planning to hang her somewhere, just take your fishing line, go ahead and trim the length that you need for the place you'll be hanging her in, and then just through the top of her head, since the fishing line is pretty firm, you can just shove it through as if you were threading a needle, pop it out the top. You'll just tie a finishing knot at the end of your string. And then you can hang her wherever you need. And here's a look at my mermaid completely finished. Alright, that's everything you need to know to make a needle felted mermaid and be a fiber artist too. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please be sure and give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and if there's something you think I should felt next, leave it down in the comments. I might just make it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!